This is deer leather, so I'm feeling sad for that little deer out there somewhere.
Well, it's been 1 year since Finance Minister Bill Morneau taught a bunch of kids about the mortality of deer.
And he gave us the best opener for our very first episode. But now it's time for Budget 2019, and Bill is at it again.
So which ones do you like better, the ones I'm wearing now or the ones I'm going to put on?
The ones I'm gonna
These are way shinier, aren't they?
They're about the same.
Welcome to Backbenchers, your bi-weekly snapshot of Canadian politics. I'm Ryan Maloney.
And I'm Mohammed Omar. In a stunning twist that will shock no one, the Liberals have promised billions of dollars in new spending just months before a federal election.
Yes, the Liberals have rolled out their latest federal budget, and there's money in there for seniors and farmers, for reconciliation and the environment. But some of the bigger promises were aimed at one group in particular.
Millennials.
Liberals want to make it easier for millennials to buy homes, or as they call them in Vancouver, tiny glass shoeboxes in the sky. The government wants to help out first-time homebuyers with a tiny portion of their mortgage and let them take out more money from their retirement savings plans. Because if there's one thing young people do well, it's retirement savings.
Liberals have also introduced a new program called the Canada Training Benefit for people between the ages of 25 and 64. This comes as a $250 annual tax credit that will help Canadians sharpen their job skills or learn new ones.
Nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills.
If you need to take time off work, you could be eligible for up to 4 weeks of employment insurance to pay for your living expenses. But before you go book that woodworking or goat yoga training course, remember that you still have to pay for this, and that EI perk is only usable once every 4 years. So, you might be wondering, when can you take advantage of all these benefits?
Well, it's important to note that many of these big ticket promises won't actually kick in until after the next election. Federal budgets are always political, but never more so than in an election year. Remember 2015? Drake dad danced, Jon Snow died, Stephen Harper did this.
Something you might not know about me is that I love movies and TV shows.
And don't we all? Harper really wanted to go into that year's campaign showing that Canada had moved on from the global financial crisis with a balanced budget. Tories accomplished this largely by draining about $2 billion out of a rainy day fund for emergencies. See, fiscal planning is fun. Now Liberals are clearly courting young voters. Millennials just so happen to be the largest voting bloc in the next federal election, so put away those participation trophies and kombucha. It's time to saddle up, comrades.
Peter, you're officially a millennial.
But the Liberal plan also goes directly after some of the things that their rivals love to talk about. The NDP is promising to bring in universal pharmacare. Morneau's plan promises a new national agency that will buy drugs in bulk and cut Canadians' medication costs, something that he says will pave the way to pharmacare eventually, like very expensive baby steps. And you know how Conservatives love to hammer the Liberals over irregular border crossers? Well, the Liberal plan includes more than $1 billion over 5 years to beef up border security. One thing that it lacks, though, is a path back to balanced books. 4 years ago, Justin Trudeau promised this.
I am looking straight at Canadians and being honest the way I always have. We said we are committed to balanced budgets, and we are. We will balance that budget in 2019.
Well, they're going to miss that mark by about $20 billion. It's a good reminder, perhaps, that in a campaign year, you should take everything that is said with a grain of salt.
Actually, Ryan, I'm watching my sodium, so I'll believe anything I'm told. One of the more contentious promises in the spending plan is hundreds of millions of dollars to support Canadian journalism.
Yeah, when details of this first came out a few months ago, Conservatives immediately accused the Liberals of wanting to buy off the media in an election year. And despite those accusations, some media companies remain cautiously optimistic.
That includes David Bedini. He runs the West End Phoenix, which is a hyper-local community paper in Toronto. So there's a theme song for the West End Phoenix on your website.
West End Phoenix, it's what the written word is for.
So if HuffPost could have a theme song off the bat, what would it sound like?
It would be, I don't know. I just know that whatever it is, like, you should probably sing it, I think.
Okay.
Right.
Sold. Deal. HuffPost Canada. It's like a paper on your phone. You might know Dave Bedini from Canadian rock band Rio Statics. But because rock and roll wasn't risky enough, he's decided to jump into print journalism. Why are you starting a newspaper in a time where people get their news on their phones, on their laptops, on TV?
The experience of reading the newspaper is what defines and drives us in a lot of ways. It's sort of an installation in your home, this exotic thing that was once part of our media landscape that has disappeared. It's kind of it's a conversation piece.
The paper couldn't exist without help from readers and rich people like Margaret Atwood. But it's also hoping to get a slice of the millions of dollars the federal government has promised to pony up for local journalism. And a group of select journalists will decide which organizations benefit. Bidini is jazzed about this funding, but he also thinks it's risky business.
It could also backfire on the government too, because if they refuse to fund certain publications, then it could result in, a very unfavorable portrait of the Liberal government as well.
Trudeau must be psychic, because weeks after we spoke to Bidini, he showed up at the Phoenix's newsroom to fawn all over the paper. And fawn he did.
This story of local journalism that is resonating and that people are appreciating and is not just reflecting a vibrant culture in the neighborhood but contributing to it is really, really important.
Someone wants a free subscription. It's clear Trudeau wants to paint his government as a defender of freedom of the press and the little man getting a voice. We now know how much the government is promising for Canadian journalism, but keeping everyone happy will be a massive, if not impossible, undertaking. As for Bidini, he says the paper will continue publishing, no matter what happens.
It's not unlike being a Canadian artist in a country where the arts are supported by funding bodies. Like if I sat around waiting for, an album to be funded by Factor or the Canada Council or the Ontario Arts Council, then I probably I'd make far fewer records than I've ever made. Because you do it because you have to do it, and because you love to do it, and we love to do what we're doing. And I don't really know where I fall in terms of my opinion on whether it ultimately is going to be a good thing or a potentially dangerous thing.
It's nice to hear that journalists like Bidini care about their job so much. But love doesn't keep the lights on. Good thing we both have a singing career to fall back on.
Well, first of all, Mo, you have the voice of an angel, but I think what might help is some auto-tune.
Please talk to my record label. I'm not going to comment on that. Thank you very much for watching. For more on this big budget, check out HuffPost.ca and find us on YouTube.
And we'll be back soon with a new format as we ramp up to this fall's federal election.
We'll leave you now with our favorite moments from this past season. Huh?
No. You know it.
Sorry. I got nervous. But his position has us wondering, does Scott like pot? That's too much.
Yeah.
Folks! What?
Stop. Tone it down.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
3, 2, and cue.
Because I whispered sorry. Does Scott like pot? Does Scott like pot?
Scott like pot?
Does Scott like pot?
HuffPost Canada. It's like a paper on your phone.
That's very bad.